Hi, I'm Craig Miller and welcome to We're Talking Sports. My guest today is Steve Eisen. Today we're going to be talking about Baltimore sports, so stay tuned.
Has to go down as one of the great feats in the history of the World Series. Listen in as the Babe himself recalls that epic moment.
Well, I stepped out of the box, and by that time they were over there straight. When I looked out to center field and I saw it, I said, I'm going to get the next pitch ball right past the flag. Well, good Lord.
As we watch him circle the bases, there is no question that he knows he has accomplished something extraordinary. The longest home run in Wrigley Field history, stroked with a vengeance. And still, the question lingers, did he or didn't he? Visit the Babe Ruth Museum and Birthplace and learn more about the greatest baseball player ever. I'm John Miller. Enjoy your tour.
This is Craig Miller. Steve, today we're going to talk about a part of history that still gets me right here.
What part of history still gets you?
Well, I believe the 25-year reunion of the 1983 World Series was held several years ago, and that was when the Baltimore Orioles beat my Philadelphia Phillies.
Wasn't too bad for those of us in Baltimore, though.
No, I would suppose not, especially since they were led by Eddie Murray and Cal Ripken and a lot of other cast of characters that people are, totally familiar with. Bernie Anderson, the whole works. But this was a team that was led by John Kruk and Darren Dalton and Dave Hollins and Jim Eisenreich and various and sundry, Lenny Dykstra, can't forget him. And all of them probably wore beards and were outlaws in their own right. But it still was right there with the heart of the city, and so
it was.
They had won the World Series 3 years before, and they were back in it again, and unfortunately they couldn't come through.
What about this reunion?
Now let me show you. We have a clip.
Cracker Jacks, I don't care if I ever get back, 'cause it's root for the home team. If they don't win, take me out.
So we're delighted to have two Hall of Famers, two of the 19 people who hit 500 home runs in their careers, Eddie Murray and Mike Schmidt, who will be the headliners in our home run contest.
We hope you see great. When I retired, so he was an American leader most of my career, and I just watched him on TV. And the 1983 World Series was really the only time a couple spring training games, maybe the only time I really got to see Eddie in person, and always admired him as a hitter, always jealous of him as a hitter. The guy got to switch hit. A Meyer switch hitter, hit from both sides of the plate, hit with power from both sides of the plate. Again, not only Eddie Murray, but Gary Carter will be going in with him, another close friend, and look forward to my trip up there. Eddie, I don't know whether you played any golf or not, but we got to get on that golf course up there at Cooperstown.
Yeah, so one day.
They'll make you do that.
Just the one day.
But yeah, I'll be right there sitting behind him and giving him all the support he needs.
Guys, both of you, how does it feel to go out in a contest like this? Is it nice to get back in the uniform and hit swing, or do you get, to naturally able to do it because sometimes you would be afraid of embarrassing yourself? How do you feel about that?
Well, it feels all the above. Uniform, embarrassing yourself is another part. No, we haven't been swinging, and I tell you, it's we know what the expectations are, and we're not going to hit home runs like we used to. And I tell you, they got my real model bat back here, and it's actually too big now. So I actually wanted to go and see if I can get one of the lighter bats.
I agree. And good players on both sides.
Oh yeah, absolutely. When you think about Cal Ripken, you know, now that he's retired, he's up in Aberdeen, and he's built himself a stadium that's for the minor league team up there. I think it's called the Shorebirds, but I don't know that for sure. But the stadium itself, as I pass it on numerous occasions, heading back and forth from Philadelphia, seeing family and whatever, the stadium itself almost is a carbon copy of Camden Yards, including the facade that's in the back.
I think that's great. And he's done such great things for youth baseball programs.
Terrific.
But what about my guy, Eddie Murray?
Eddie Murray is a great person.
Yeah.
And a terrific player, too.
And really helped carry that series.
Yeah, and he's kind of, I guess he's keeping a pretty low profile, although he's part of the coaching staff on the current Orioles team.
What about your Philadelphia guys, though?
They kind of faded into the background. That particular team had its share of controversy. Okay, there was a lot of question marks about whether they were taking steroids or whatever. Well, you know, and in some cases they actually found some evidence of it. A classic example is Lenny Dykstra. But again, you know, it was a great team to watch. They were a fun bunch of guys. Steve, let me show you another clip from the reunion from the 1983 World Champion Baltimore Orioles.
Excellent. Let's take a look.
These guys from the Phillies to reminisce a little bit about 1983. Let's bring up Larry Christensen, Greg Gross, and Ozzie Virgil, and Al Holland. Mike, your memories of the 80s?
None. I have none.
You want to forget that one, huh?
What happened in 83? I have no memories of the 1983 World Series. In fact, I have no memories of getting a hit. Let's see, what was it good? We won that first game.
Yeah, the first game, and then after that it went downhill, right?
Yeah, way downhill. Actually, I did get a hit. I don't know whether the guy that I got it off of is in the group here today or not. But,
Sammy Stewart?
Sammy Stewart, that's right. How do you guys remember that story? Look at all these Orioles back here. Sammy Stewart, remember when you broke your bat and lobbed it over short? You were 1 for 23. Enough said. I don't care about the 83 World Series, but I love these Orioles back here.
Your remembrances of the 83 World Series?
Well, I was a member of the team in 83, but in 1983, after 9 games, my elbow completely blew up and fell apart, so I had my 4th and 5th elbow operation, and I was done. By the time the World Series rolled around, it was somewhat uneventful from the excitement of 1980. Yes, Baltimore did win, but I remember with my bad arm, and I remember Tug McGraw and I sitting in the locker room because there wasn't even enough room on the bench at Memorial Stadium for us. So that ate away for me too. All of us Philly guys, it seems to be a little bit uneventful. But congratulations to the Orioles and all of them to remember this season for them in 83.
I'll tell you what, that was really exciting. But Steve, have you ever been to the Sports Legend Museum here in town?
I haven't. I wish I had the opportunity. I'm going to have to ask you the obvious question. Who's in the Sports Museum?
Everything that's Baltimore related, starting from Babe Ruth himself, who was born and bred in this city, right on through Chuck Thompson, various and sundry players, you know, Cal Ripken, Eddie Murray, Jim Palmer, Mike Flanagan, and a lot of the stories that were surrounding the Orioles. The Orioles were a minor league team back in the early days of baseball, but eventually they became a major league team when the owners bought the St. Louis Browns and brought them to Baltimore and then renamed them the Orioles.
I didn't know that. Now, besides all those individuals you just mentioned, are there exhibits and baseball bats?
Oh, absolutely. Baseball cards, and here's the sad part of it, Steve. I own most of those baseball cards in my own collection right now, which is roughly about 600 or 700 cards from the 60s and 70s.
How did you end up getting so many cards? You must have been an avid collector.
I have all the cavities that goes with the gum that comes from every pack of baseball cards I ever had.
And did you trade cards with your friends then?
No, not generally.
2 Eddie Murrays for 1 Cal Ripken or something like that?
People did that and kids did that or whatever, but I hoarded mine, I have to admit. I wasn't in any hurry to give up somebody good.
I wouldn't take you for a hoarder, but tell me more about the museum.
Well, like I said, the museum has, listen, we're going to go to a clip right now.
This is the kids' discovery room. This is our locker room where kids get to try a bunch of different activities, and of course they get to try on all of different game-used equipment, baseball, football, soccer, lacrosse, and the equipment that's actually game-used from different schools, different teams. And this, of course, is a Navy football helmet that they get to try on, along with the pads and the uniforms. Of course, the Orioles do win the World Series in '66. They win it again in 1970, and they win it in 1983. That was their last World Series. This trophy right here is the 1983 World Series trophy. It was the last time the Orioles won the World Series against the Phillies. And right next to it is World Series ring that belonged to world-renowned broadcaster, sports broadcaster Chuck Thompson. We have an interactive, it's a holographic soccer ball projected from the ceiling. Kids come in and they actually get to play soccer. And the idea that we wanted to create here is that when kids are playing soccer, their team, the Baltimore Blast, is actually looking at from the sideboards. And on the other side we have the exhibit case with all of the Baltimore Blast artifacts. And I will tell you, this is a favorite among the kids.
Wow, that was really neat. I've got to go there.
Oh, absolutely. If you have any notion, if you have any feeling about sports, okay, in particular Baltimore sports, that is the place to go. It's got everything from the Baltimore Colts to the Baltimore Orioles, and it goes in chronological orders. I mean, you will get a lot of nostalgia by taking a look at the things that are in there.
Correct. I think based on what I saw, I'd say even if you weren't a pure baseball fan, you ought to just go anyway, because it's about Baltimore. It's about Baltimore history, and that's pretty neat.
Well, yeah, and when you think about it, okay, Baltimore has its history, and it does run through time, and sports is always a big part of things ever since probably into the late 1800s. So, like I said, it's an experience.
Sounds like a great place to visit.
Absolutely. Steve, thank you very much for being my guest.
Craig, thanks for having me.
We look forward to seeing you again on The Craig Miller Show. Thank you.